So Chris Ledlie, the mentor that I was talking to you this morning, has just been able to join us, and I'm super happy, Chris, that you're able to make a little bit of time. I know that you are in between meetings, and what I was just covering with everyone on the call was what you and I were talking about. And to kind of set this up so that you guys know, Chris is probably the best mentor I've ever had in the business. He's also one of my best friends. He runs a region at Caliber where I work. He is beloved as one of the best leaders in the business. And, you know, the reason I brought him on today is because he is mentoring and coaching hundreds of loan officers within our company and outside of the company. And I think he brings a really good perspective of what we're all going through. He also is very in touch with operations on the processing side. He is instrumentally helped us with our turn times and building capacity. And I don't say that to blow up your ego there, Chris, but I think what I want to bring perspective on for our listeners is just the amount of loan officers, the amount of loans, the amount of volume that you touch. And what to tee up, kind of where I had been is I was talking about our conversation today about everyone, even myself, being complacent and having this feeling of complacency attached to being overworked and underappreciated. And it's crazy if you were to look at it, and a lot of this is repetitive for everyone that's on the stream, but I want to get your comments and just make sure you know where we're at. If you look at it, cashing bigger paychecks than we've ever cashed in our lives, but we're all also feeling underappreciated, overworked, and we've got this complacency that we're carrying around. And I talked about that on our last call. But when you and I were talking this morning and you were helping me work through that, what you nailed down for me and crystallized, I couldn't crystallize before, is that complacency and that guilt and that feeling that I'm feeling is because I have not been able to do the things that I've always done to get me to this point. So, we're just wrapping up on our mindset portion, where I really want to encourage all of us, myself included, I'm talking to myself probably more than anyone, to think about this mindset and not really beat yourself up, but to take really small actions. Reach out to your realtor base and just thank them for being able to be in this position, right? And that's a form of prospecting and gratitude that you can easily do. And it's not nearly the amount of prospecting that I would normally do, right? But it's going to make me feel better because at least I'm working in a little bit of those things, and it's an action item that's going to make my mindset better, and that mindset will percolate down. Is that kind of what you meant when we were going through that? And do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, first, I appreciate you having me on, buddy. I jump on for a few minutes here, but I came in right at the right time to talk about mindset, because for me, that's such a key foundation of our overall success and our ability to have success. And so two things I think are really, really important right now as we start planning for what this next cycle looks like. And around mindset, it's what is the story that we are writing? What is the story that we are telling ourselves right now? And, if you go out and ask 10 people, hey, how was 2020? What are your thoughts on the year 2020? The story is being told over and over and over about how bad of a year it is, how tough of a year it is, all the things that we're going through, the trials and the tribulations. And if we repeat that over and over and over, we manifest that destiny, right? This becomes the worst year ever. So I'm encouraging you and a lot of other people to think about what is that story you're telling yourself, because certainly if we truly look at it, this year has brought a lot of positive as well, right? It's brought us and our families closer together. It's given us,
especially for our industry, right? It's unbelievable for our.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're having from a success standpoint and the number of families that we're able to help, the best years that we've ever had financially, the best years that we've ever had. And so, I said it the other day on a call that I was on. We had, I think, 29 days left in the year. And I said, take the next 29 days and I want you to define and write your story. So when you look back 5 years from now, the story that you've told yourself is what an amazing year it was, not because of the things that necessarily happened, but because of what you did with it. because of the opportunities that you created during the challenging times. And so I think number one, that's important with mindset. But the other one, to your point, is conversations that I'm having right now with loan officers, with processors, with operations leaders. Yeah, people are taxed right now. They're burnt out. They've worked harder and put in more hours than, what we can do for a sustained period of time. And what I think it comes down to, and here's what's really important, and I think that you are going down this path, is, we've become complacent because we now have a different problem. In the past, our problem was driving enough business, right? Like, how are we going to feed the machine? How are we going to put leads in and opportunities in? Now the problem is there's more business than any of us can handle. Right. So we become complacent in that area. And now we're spending our time pipeline managing. We're spending our time triage, handling the emergency of the hour of the day. And so for most of us, that's not why we got into this business. That's not what we love about this business. That's not the things that fuel you and motivate you and inspire you. And so if you find yourself doing those activities all day long, day in and day out, of course there's going to be a fatigue. They need to be done. They're necessary, but you're not doing the things that fuel you. So I ask a simple question, to loan officers, or again, anybody I'm talking to. It's like, what do you love about the job that you do? What fuels you? What motivates you? Why did you get into this? And I think if you can get real clear about that, then it allows you to take action. And you alluded to it, right? It doesn't have to be, maybe you spent 40% of your time on business development prospecting before, and now you're spending zero, right? So I'm not saying, hey, you need to move the needle to go back to 40% right away. But certainly, if those are the things that you enjoy, if you love working with agents, if you love making past client calls and, checking in and talking to them about financial situations and what's evolved and where are they now, integrate that back in. And what you will find is, even if you do it at a small scale, you will find that all of a sudden you start filling up that motivation again, that inspiration again, and the thing that's going to drive you to shift the mindset to a place that will allow you to take the big step action that you need to as you start looking to 2021 and what do we need to do to be successful. So you hit it spot on. I think we all are aware of it, but when you put it out there and you define it kind of in this way, all of a sudden a light bulb clicks and people are like, oh yeah, I'm not doing anything that I love about this job. Yeah. I'm doing all the things that drain me, so it's even to the point of when we get to the end of a day, right? You have a really long day. You've worked your ass off all day long. And if you find yourself that you had done reactive tasks all day long and not the things you enjoy, you're exhausted. You're fatigued at the end of the day. And you're just like, God, this day really, really killed me. As opposed to the days that you spend your time doing the activities that are big picture, building the things that you love doing. You could have worked a 15-hour day, but you get done and you're energized, you're motivated, right? You feel good about it. So it's just finding what those things are and getting people back to that place in their day-to-day.
Yeah, if you fill your day with things that give you fulfillment and you work a 15-hour day of doing the things that give you fulfillment, you go to sleep tired but very fulfilled, right? Because you got a fulfillment either on a return on investment or a return on energy. And I think both of those, as Danny Harani would say, are currencies that are traded constantly. And I think when we're so busy, we can't take the time to even analyze that's what's going on. And I think that's what's been so important about the relationship that you and I have had over the 6 to 7 years, is that we've been able to rely on one another for perspective, right? I mean, you're in situations where you rely on me for that perspective, and I rely on you all the time to help me get that clarity of man, to me, Mark, it's pretty easy that you're buried in this stuff that's not, making you happy. And so I think for all, my loan officers, right, we're doing goal planning today, and I get messages from them that they're too busy and, how long is this going to be? And it's never been more important for people to take an hour or 90 minutes and work on their business and really think about the things that make them happy. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you, Chris, switching gears here a little bit, is the first thing that comes to mind for me if I do that is, oh my gosh, if I did that right now, realtors are so hungry. And if they hear from me and it's upbeat, it's going to create even more business and crush my team more which is like the first place my mind went, if I'm being totally transparent. An obstacle, right? And I have several solves, already in my mind. But that is literally the first place that my mind went when you said that, right? If I'm doing those things. So what do you say to that, man?
Yeah. So again, you're finding excuses in why you can't do something. The alternative, though, is if we don't start doing those activities now, you will find yourself in a position, whether it's a month from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now. We don't know. Honestly, there's people out there that project how long is this rate environment going to last? And somebody's right, but not everybody, right? So I do believe that the core of our business model has been built around the purchase market and the relationships that we have that drive that. And so if you don't start those activities now, you need to be very, very fearful that you are going to be one of the mass that all of a sudden wakes up one day and has to shift and start figuring out at that point. That should be a very, very scary proposition. And there will be huge contraction in our industry because the majority of loan officers are going to sit in that same place that you just described and make up excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse as to why, hey, I can't do it now, but I'll do it when the time comes. Well, when the time comes, you've already missed the boat. It's sailed at that point. And to your point, you brought it up. The loan officers that are out there calling agents now or calling just influencers right now, people that can build out their sphere, it's a welcome call, right? Because it's just not happening. So wouldn't you rather be on the front end of that? And yes, you're going to enhance your capacity issues that you have, right? It's going to be even more apparent, but we solve for that. We solve for that day in and day out. That's the business that we want right there. And think about it. That's the business that fulfills us as well. Going back to the thing that I described before, that we get fulfillment out of it when we're out there building relationships in that way. So it's just another excuse to me is what it is. If somebody gives that, and like, we can keep putting them up all day long and I can keep knocking them down all day long. But really, I think the one thing that will get you through it, and it should, is you should be very, very fearful if you are not doing the things that you need to do to have success in your business 6 to 12 months from now.
Yeah. And if you can make the fear, that future fear, more present today in your life, if that works for you, and use it as a motivator, because it's a reality, right? We talk about it all the time. More and more people are talking about, oh, that day is coming. It's crazy. We're in the lowest rate environment ever. And we're just talking about the day that might happen and what it's going to do to our industry. You know what? Stay calm, be prepared, take little tidbits of this, just give an appreciation call, right? And then if the business comes, it sounds like this, Chris, yeah, man, I would love to help you out. We prioritize our purchase business. As you know, I'm not super proud of our turnaround times, not what you've experienced in the past because of the capacity and the low rates, but no one is going to care for you and your clients the way that I do. And I promise that will get you taken care of. I just want to make sure that expectations are set, right? And if you're setting those expectations up,
well said,
and you're preparing in the beginning, that's it, man. And no one, I think especially my younger self, the younger Mark Robertson, just so eager to please everybody. I'm still that way to this day, but I would be scared almost to say that I couldn't close in 21 days. And now I'm like, you can white knuckle that thing at 21 days if you want, and we'll get it closed. Or we can go in with 21 days to get this thing accepted and beg for more time down the road. But you need to know this thing is going to be white knuckle the whole way. It's so much better of an experience because you've set the tone up front, right? And just setting the expectations around the reality of what's going to happen. Look, if they use some other person that says they're going to close in 14 days and not you, is it really that big of a deal right now? But they're going to appreciate that you were honest, that you made the call and told them you care about them in a time when no one's making these calls, right?
Yeah, very well said. Well, I appreciate you having me on. I've got to jump into the entire Triibe community. You guys are rock stars for showing up. We got a great year ahead of us, and it's all about putting the foundation in place. And so starts with things like this. So thanks again for having me on, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.